What's up, everyone? Let's talk about the EBT situation and what's actually happening right now. I've seen a lot of creators taking clips from old protests, some looting, rioting that was going on, and using it to get clicks and rage baiting their audience. And I don't think that's entirely fair. So I wanted to go through today and talk about the actual facts so we can have a real conversation about what's going on. We are still in the middle of a government shutdown, making it the second longest in US history. And by the time you see this video, it might be the longest in US history. A federal judge just announced that the Trump administration will need to keep funding SNAP. According to the USDA, which stands for the US Department of Agriculture, the agency that actually runs and oversees SNAP, about 41.7 million Americans rely on these benefits every month. That's roughly 1 in 8 people, or about 12% of the country. The average person receives around $187 a month in benefits. Nearly 39% of SNAP recipients are children and teenagers under the age of 18. So when people talk about EBT abuse, it's worth mentioning that a lot of the beneficiaries of this money are children and low-income families that are just trying to eat. Now, with that said, a lot of people are frustrated, and understandably. There's a lot of people that take advantage of the system. They sell their EBT, they find loopholes to get more, they treat it as a permanent check instead of a temporary solution. So the frustration there is valid. All right, guys, so here's a TikTok that has 102,000 likes. It's quite a lot, 8,300 comments. And it's a very mixed response. You have a ton of people liking it, agreeing, and then people in the comments just saying that, this doesn't make any sense, and what people do with their money isn't any of your damn business, basically. So I'll play it. It's a quick one. That's it. So if you can spend $150 on nails, $350 on extensions, and $400 on lashes, then you should not qualify for food stamps. And what do you think about this? So this is what people are actually saying in the comments. All right, so as you can see, it's a pretty mixed response here. I work at a gas station. Let's not forget about the $200 a day on lottery, plus $100 on tobacco, and not to mention alcohol, but have to swipe the EBT card for a can of Coke because 80 cents was too much. Congratulations, you just got removed from following me. What someone else spends isn't any of your damn business. For 40 bucks in taxes that go to benefit America's poorest families don't entitle you to judge them. Judge yourself. Don't forget the newest phone, a car newer than mine, and cable. I actually wish that was true, that people could actually afford a new car. Cable, sure. But a new car, come on, guys. Nobody is affording new cars right now. I know this is exaggeration, but this doesn't justify letting millions of people starve. Ain't nobody pay $400 for lashes. He got finessed, ain't it? Dude, people are awesome. Someone said America has the richest poor people, and dude, that is so true. We really do. And I had a comment on one of my other videos basically saying how fortunate we are to live in the asset economy, that of course everything that we're invested into just keeps increasing. But my argument was that, yeah, but wages aren't keeping up. So, but you are okay funding Israel and Argentina. Got it. He's not lying, and the people that actually work, pay taxes, and need it can't get it. However, Keisha from Brooklyn, who never worked a day in her life, 3 kids, 1 on the way, and 4 baby daddies, is eligible. I'm happy they're changing it. People need to get out their comfort zone and get a effing job. Okay. All right, guys. So what do you think about this? Do you agree with these comments or not? Another argument is that because of the shutdown, people have actually been investigating SNAP, and they found that illegal immigrants are actually taking advantage of SNAP.
Okay, you're going to be hearing a lot in the next few days about 42 million Americans that are on SNAP benefits, and they are no longer going to be receiving those because of the government shutdown. The problem is that that's not true. That's factually wrong. 42 million people are on SNAP benefits, according to a study by the Center for Immigration Studies, which just took U.S. Census Bureau data. 48 8% of those are illegal aliens. Now, interestingly, this data comes from 2022. And since then, 7 or 8 million more illegal immigrants have come here. And so that means that it's even higher. Over half of the people getting SNAP benefits aren't even supposed to be here. That's $8 billion a month that Americans who are supposed to be here, who are working, who are paying taxes, are supporting them who aren't supposed to be here. You should get outraged at some point here about this whole program. And interestingly, another 34% of those on SNAPs are recently legalized Americans. So they're not native-born Americans here. They recently came here. They're here legally, so they're getting it legally. But that wasn't what any of us signed up for when we were talking about immigration and the importance of immigration, is that vast majorities of them would be just on welfare. There were people who said all along that that's why they're coming here. Now, it kind of looks like that was the case. We need to stop this. And I'm glad we had the government shutdown to find this out, because I didn't know these numbers. And I'm as cynical and informed as about anybody on the politics of the country. Most people don't know. Now you do.
All right, so this is the study that the guy was referencing, and it's by the Center of Immigration Studies, and it's titled "Nearly Half of Non-Citizen Households with Young Children Use Food Welfare Programs." So this says the ongoing federal government shutdown has caused funding for the Women, Infants, and Children WIC Nutrition Program and the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, SNAP, also food stamps, to be suspended. A Center of Immigration Studies analysis of the 2024 Survey of Income and Program Participation, SIPP, shows 47% of households headed by non-citizens with children under age of 6, the target population of WIC, use at least one of these two complementary programs. These results indicate that immigrant communities are going to be hit hard if the shutdown continues. The results also are a reminder that once low-income immigrants settle in the country, it is very difficult to prevent their use of the welfare system. Many immigrants have modest levels of education and low incomes, so suspension of WIC and SNAP will impact a large share of this population. This situation also raises important policies questions, including whether it makes sense to have an immigration system that allows so many people who turn to taxpayers to support the children. Okay, so this is referencing, it looks like, legal immigrants. And what I had researched before said that if you're an illegal immigrant, you are not eligible for SNAP. However, if your child is a natural born citizen, then your child can get SNAP. So in return, I think the parent would be receiving that as well. So among these findings, the 2024 SIPP shows 47% of households headed by non-citizens with children under age 6 receive WIC or SNAP or both, compared to 31% of U.S.-born households with young children. Non-citizen households account for nearly 1 in 5 of all households with young children receiving WIC or SNAP. The vast majority, 96% of young children in these households, are U.S. born. Unfortunately, SIPP cannot be used for detailed analysis by country. However, it does show that 65% of households headed by non-citizens with young children from the Americas and the Caribbean use WIC or SNAP. Roughly half of non-citizens in the survey are illegal immigrants. However, all non-citizens are eligible for WIC regardless of legal status. Illegal immigrants are not directly eligible for SNAP in most states, but they do receive benefits on behalf of U.S.-born children, and that is what I was talking about. The large share of non-citizen households using these programs is not due to immigrants having very large families. Non-citizen households with young children have only 1.1 young children and young children under 6 on average, and an average of 1.9 children under 18. We have no evidence that the high use of these welfare programs by non-citizens reflects fraud, nor is it due to low rates of work, as the overwhelming majority of non-citizen households with young children have at least one worker. Heavy use of WIC and SNAP by non-citizens reflects the large share with modest levels of education and resulting low incomes of households with young children. headed by a non-citizen without a bachelor degree. 66% use these programs compared to 20% with at least a bachelor's. Of all immigrant-headed households, naturalized citizens and non-naturalized citizens with young children, 43% are dependent on at least one of these programs. Now, both sides see this differently. Some people argue, well, if the parent came in here illegally, the taxpayer shouldn't take on the burden of feeding their child if they came here knowing that they would be breaking the law and then taking advantage of our system. But others argue that punishing the child because of the parent's actions doesn't really make sense, especially when that child is technically an American citizen. So what do you think about this? According to the U.S. Government Accountability Office, or the GAO, which is basically the agency that audits and holds other government programs accountable, the USDA's Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or SNAP, is supposed to help low-income people and families afford food. But in their 2024 report, the GAO found that about 11.7% of all SNAP payments in 2023, around 10.5 billion, were improper. That means the payments were the wrong amount or they shouldn't have been made at all. And that's up slightly from the year before. Now, most of that isn't fraud, it's mistakes, wrong benefit amounts, missing paperwork, or bad data entry from the states that run the program, which is still terrible. If you think we're losing that much money on computer errors, then something is very wrong here. With all the money that we're pouring into tech right now, it doesn't make a lot of sense that we're still making these errors. So still, the GAO pointed out that the USDA hasn't done enough to stop fraud at the retail level. For example, when stores illegally trade SNAP benefits for cash, they actually made a recommendation years ago to increase penalties for retailers who do that. But the USDA still hasn't implemented it. So they've had this time, they've even had recommendations from an agency, and they're not taking advantage of that advice, which is causing a lot of issues as well. So the GAO also said USDA's Office of Inspector General found the agency isn't fully compliant with the Federal Payment Integrity Information Act, which means their internal checks on bad payments aren't meeting the legal standard. That is insane. So the government's own watchdog is basically saying, we know this program leaks billions, and the system to fix it isn't being enforced. Their solution, the GAO recommended that the USDA increase penalties for retailers who commit fraud, improve its data analytics to detect trafficking faster, and strengthen oversight between the federal and state levels. So states actually follow through on their corrective action plans. In other words, the tools to fix exist. The problem is nobody's using them. And I think this could lead, if AI apparently has one of the best algorithms for fraud detection and banks are taking advantage of that right now, maybe there could be some integration there. And we're probably going to see Palantir or another leading AI company step in to help with this if they actually want to fix the issue. We have politicians during the shutdown that are getting paid a lot of money still, while the normal working class in the government are not receiving their paychecks. So you would think with all this time on their hands and they know what the issue is, why can't our elected officials fix the problems? Why can't they actually solve the issues instead of beating around the bush? And that's really the pattern, isn't it? The government knows how to fix things and just refuses to. We have the technology, the money, the data, but what we don't have is accountability. Because while they debate how to patch up food assistance here at home, they're still sending billions of dollars overseas to other countries. We're talking about tens of billions of dollars going to places like Ukraine and Israel, while Congress sits here and debates if Americans can afford groceries. SNAP costs around $8 billion a month to feed 42 million people, while we've sent about 10 times that amount to foreign aid this year alone. Now, whether you support that spending or not, I think it raises a solid question. When it comes to other nations, why do we always have the money to send? But whenever it comes to Americans, it's always a debate or we just don't have it. All right, guys. So what do you think about everything? I'd love to get your feedback. If you made it to the end, I appreciate you very much. I'm going to continue to be pushing these videos out. And if you liked it, could you give me a like, subscribe? It'd mean a lot. It helps me out a lot. I think around 95% of my viewers are not subscribed. I get quite a bit of views, but just not a lot of that translate into subscribers. I'm a small channel. I actually just got monetized yesterday. So thank you guys so much. It means a lot. We'll see how that plays out, but I'm going to continue to do my normal work and post kind of for fun and everything. But just let me know your thoughts, guys, and I'll see you next time.